Hey folks, it's Sam, and I'm here on Monday, March 18th, about 3 p.m., and I'm doing an update here for this week. We have a pretty transformative week ahead. Big time Mars, Saturn, Venus conjunction here in Aquarius. You see we have Mercury very close to Rahu right now as I speak in Pisces. The sun is also there. We're building up to this eclipse. Big eclipse month is coming. You see this week, the moon, the moon is going to move through. And when it comes down here, by the end of the week, we'll have the eclipse energy. So again, this is what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. Please like the video. Clicking like helps a lot more than you know. It pushes the video higher in relevant video searches. Also, please leave a nice comment. Comments also help more than you know as it raises the video in searches. Many times with hundreds of likes, there are only a dozen comments and they can be disproportionately negative. So be positive. Let me know if you like this. Even just a few words really help. So subscribe, ring the bell to get notified of upcoming videos. Yeah, it does really help. Like and subscribe. And I'm also doing now, I have members, a membership site, and you can get different levels of membership. I'll talk about that a little bit later, but people are really responding to it because in addition to getting these free videos, you also get a lot of updates. You can see this is actually a playlist of all of the member videos. I do two of them each week at different levels and whatnot. So check that out as well. But anyway, starting here. Oh, and by the way, you can see there's a button under the channel that just says join. And when you join, this pops up. This thing pops up here, and you can click here to join at different levels. So let's get started here. You can see that the moon is moving down here towards this eclipse this week, right? It's going to be moving through Gemini, then Cancer, then Leo, then Virgo, and then we're going to be then this time next week we will have already had the lunar eclipse in Virgo with the sun and moon, right? With the sun joined Rahu and the moon joined Ketu, right? And so we're right in the sort of jaws of that eclipse now. When we had we have this, the last full moon that we had really kind of opened up the lunar eclipse cycle. So now we're going to have those two. So things are really charged right now. I just went, before I did this, I just went to Google and just put in news, right? Just put in news, and you can see the news that says here, Trump unable to pay his $464 million bond. Joe Biden warns of the assault in Rafah in Gaza. Supreme Court, Kavanaugh loses patience actually with the right wing and all the courts. Putin cultivates leader for life image. There was just a big election in Russia, so to speak. Again, people who love Putin, it wasn't a real election. It's a dictatorship. Again, more stuff about Gaza. Supreme Court grapples with things. So again, all of these issues that I've been sort of talking about, and we've sort of seen, there's just so much intensity in the world right now, and it's kind of getting exacerbated even more by this eclipse cycle. And you can see that we have Mars, Venus, Saturn here in Aquarius now. Aquarius is very much the sign of our social connections with each other. We're not just individuals, which is related to the Leo principle, but we have a collective association and responsibility with each other. We live in a country. That country is part of the world. We now, in this day and age, we have access to the sum of human activity all around the world. And it's very tricky and difficult to navigate. All of our heart breaks. Most of our hearts break for what's happening in Israel, for whichever side you're on, or if you're just kind of seeing it from the position of it's just a terrible tragedy that, again, where you could see the complexity that it's not all Israel, not all Palestinians, not all this, or wherever you're at on that. No matter where you're at, there's that feeling of, there's both a feeling of helplessness and one of the things we have to notice in this world now, and I put out the energy that, our nervous system was not meant to process the grief of the entire world. Our nervous system is meant to be present with our life circumstances. It's enough to live our life. And that doesn't mean we can't obviously pay attention and do what we can, let's say, but very hard to see what we see now with all of these boundaries exploded. This is very much, again, keep in mind Pisces, Rahu, Aquarius, boundaries being dissolved, exploded, being able to see everything, and yet we're still cognizing all of it in the nervous system of an individual. But we can see the collective suffering of the world. We can see all of the scenarios, and yet I'm just still here. I don't have power to change things that I can see and the suffering that I can see. And I think it's one of the real defining aspects of our time now. As much as we say a lot about the internet age, I often call it the age of misinformation as well. It's, again, it's the age of information, but also the age of misinformation. But it's also the age where it is like one global community, let's say, but we're still a local person. I'm not a communal person. Me, in this lifetime, in this karma, in this consciousness, within my nervous system, I still only have the grasp of, what I have control over, which, again, and the things that we're meant to have control over are things like our food, what we eat through all of the senses, what we consume, what we, who we can see in our immediate environment even. But even that gets extended. For example, all of you are extensions of my environment, even though most of you, 99.9% of you, I've never met. You're watching this wherever you are. So in many ways, it's an incredible miracle, the times that we live in now, but it's also quite a burden in a lot of ways because we have to stay grounded. And it's very easy for us to be ungrounded in this day and age because there's a phrase that says, my reach exceeds my grasp. Like, my reach to all of you exceeds my grasp. I don't have you. I can reach you, but I can only reach so much. I can't grasp it. The things that I can grasp are still the things in my environment. I can grasp this and drink it. I can grasp this other thing. So in this day and age, it's definitely, I'm sorry, something over here. There's definitely something where our reach exceeds our grasp. We can reach, and these things reach us, but we can't grasp them. And so it leads to this anxiety if we're not careful, particularly if we don't have a meditation practice, if we don't have a spiritual practice that grounds us or something that grounds us, but most particularly a spiritual practice, because we can have the illusion of, well, the things that ground me are my family, this person, this thing, that thing. Again, those are good, but the only thing that really ultimately grounds us is our consciousness. And grounding, like in the daily practice of connecting to the self, because the self is the only foundation of your life, whether you know it or not. There's the illusion that, we have a lot of illusions of what is real, but the only thing that's real is the only thing that's real, which is the self. And again, we can have people in our life that we love and where we have attachments, and those beautiful attachments also ground us in our, in our friends and whatnot. But even in grounding us, it allows us to have more of a grasp, not just a reach. So I just say this as a beginning point because this is a big part of the eclipse energy that we're dealing with right now, is not just feeling everything sort of dissolved in this confused state. This confused state of where everything is dissolved leads to anxiety, leads to stress, but it's also a great opening. The opportunity in the opening is to also dissolve the illusion and the pressure and the stress of all of the things like the news and all of the things that we can't really control, but that we see and that in many ways control us. We have to do something about it to some extent, at least the things we can, but then ground and control and reflect and really deepen into the things that we are in control of, which is really just the moment and whatnot, and our habits and routines and whatnot. And this, like, for example, again, right now, these transits, this Saturn, Venus, Mars in Aquarius, again, all these planets, Aquarius and Pisces. Aquarius is our collective relationship, which is where we see things like the political and the social and the global. Pisces is the transcendent. You have to understand there's part of you that is transcendent. That means transcendent of the cultural connections as well. You're not just a citizen of Earth. You're a cosmic being. So in many ways, what's happening right now is there's a strong emphasis on this collective, political, global thing that we're all kind of battling. And then in another sense, there's this opportunity because the eclipses are happening in Pisces and Virgo, particularly the Sun Rahu in Pisces. And also, yeah, as you see, Mercury is there, to dissolve that illusion without like escaping, because we also want to escape from it. There's escapism. The world seems so dreadful in so many ways. With all the, again, you look at the news and look at all of this. It's dictators and crime. And we see all of this and we want to just escape from it. Netflix and drugs and I don't know anything. I just want to escape from all of that. That escapist tendency is Pisces. And so rather than escape from it or escape into some fantasy of what might happen, it's a time to really connect to that deeper transcendent consciousness. And again, and to not turn away from the difficulties, but also be rational and calculating in what the implications are of, let's say, things like the political situation in America or Russia or whatever it might be. What are the real implications? Don't just turn it into some fantasy. Well, it's all the same. This side is just as bad as that side. So it's all the same. It's all the same. Just whoever. Blow it all up. Who cares? Well, be careful if you're wishing to blow it all up, because it's not going to blow it all up. It's not going to destroy it. It's just going to blow up maybe what you're used to. Maybe what you're used to is bad, but blowing it all up could be a lot worse, because it's not going to destroy it. It's just going to blow up a certain thing, but then something else is going to fill the void, for example. And there's a lot of escapism as well, and built into what's happening. So I'm saying this in this, sort of culturally, personally, and whatnot, because again, we see Saturn, Venus, Mars right now in Aquarius, such a visceral, world that we live in, particularly with the war and the atrocity. And then Rahu Sun, now Mercury is there in Pisces, just kind of wanting to tune it out like it's too much. So the creative option, is to, let's say on a personal level or cultural level, is to obviously do what we can if there is anything that we can do about whatever we can do, but not to lose sight of your true nature as that person who is transcendent and beyond this lifetime in this world. By the way, I wanted to answer a question here. Someone said, did you get the one of Baron Trump? Last week I talked about a video on that was a member video. And yes, I did do that. I just want to show, if you go down here, here's the Baron Trump chart. It's a member video, as you see here. This is member level, right? So that's at the certain member level. You can find that. Oops, sorry. I go back here. So you can find that this is what the different member levels are. So that is a one more time. Okay. So yeah, it's that's what the member levels are. And so anyway, go back here. All right. And so anyway, if people are interested in that, you can check it out. Again, like I said, there is a membership button. There's a join button that you can look at if you wanted to be a member. So again, what we have now, Mars just moved into Aquarius, so it's showing also more of the activating qualities. So there could be more, like you saw even with those headlines, threats coming, let's say, from like Biden to Netanyahu. Putin has now become the reelected, quote, dictator again. And now even like with Trump and these bills are becoming due. Mars comes and activates all of these things, activates them. By the way, the reason we're seeing it with the last president is because he has a Leo ascendant. He has Leo rising, and all these planets in Aquarius are in his 7th house. They're all aspecting his ascendant and his Mars. So this is why, again, Mars went in here, and now this is very intense energy for Aquarius, also for Aquarius people. But in general, Aquarius also aspects back on Leo. And in the member forecast that I did for this week, I also have that member forecast as the moon goes through this section. I talk about that. That's at the $4.99 level. At the basic membership level, you also get a weekly update where I just talk about the week ahead. And I talked about the week ahead. Again, that's only for the $4.99 membership if you click join. I talk about the moon going through all of these signs. And when I get here, I also, by the way, talked about this Saturn, Mars, Venus in a lot of detail. And also when the moon hit here, the aspects. And Jupiter also aspects. So when the moon hits Leo this week, again, it's a lot of activating energy, which happens Thursday, Friday. Or, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So anyway, all this energy in Aquarius right now is also, it's greatly affecting Venus, because Venus is obviously the planet that's now joined two malefics, two difficult planets. And this Venus energy is the energy of getting along with each other, of course, we often think of relationship and things like that. But again, it's also just our relationships with others in general, and just, wanting to enjoy life, trying to enjoy life. And so being joined both Saturn and Mars right now, that energy is being sort of squeezed. And you can even see that it's in between those two planets. So again, I talked about that in the forecast, in the member cast. Check this out, just a real quick overview. Just started YouTube memberships, and as you can see here, I have 4 levels of membership. The investigator unicorn level, are you a unicorn? The examiner Lemurian level, are you a Lemurian from the ancient city? Or are you a visionary Pleiadian? Or are you a 5D avatar oracle? I'm going to talk about a few of these membership levels, but even at the $4.99 level, you get a lot of interesting perks, including a weekly live stream done Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and a bunch of other free classes and loyalty badges and emojis and cool stuff like that. And by the way, in this next level here, this Lemurian level, you get the new moon for your sign. At this level, at this examiner Lemurian level, I give you that very detailed live video of the coming month. You can just click join and join at that level. But again, you also are getting this new moon forecast here at this Lemurian level. And then at the Pleiadian level, you not only get all of that, but you also get the daily forecast based on the Vedic Panchanga, where it's Saturday, the first Tithi, it's Purvabhadra, it's Aquarius. That's at the. So most people are getting the Oracle level, the 5D, because it gives all of the members. It gets you all the member level videos, including like the Baron Trump video and all the ones. I have some other very intense case studies that I'm also doing. So anyway, check that out. You can just click the join button underneath and select the level. So the last things that I wanted to talk about here today are also, again, like I say, this week, the moon is moving through this very important section of the sky. And again, it's very important to understand each day, both in general, like you get with the general forecast, but also with the Indian Panchanga, like you can see down here, I have all of these levels. Like, for example, on Monday, it's ruled by the moon. It's Punarvasu Nakshatra, and it's the 10th Tithi, Shukla Dashami. Actually, it was Shukla Navami earlier in the day. So again, those very specific Vedic indicators really also show a deeper nature. The day started off in Navami, which is the 9th lunar day, which has to do with the serpent energy, the poison, extracting the poison, and then it moves into the 10th day. And Punarvasu Nakshatra means return of the light, and it's between Gemini and Cancer. So again, these things are very important daily, ways to align with the daily energy. And so obviously I'm glad that I know these things, and it keeps me in alignment. So we have this energy right now for the rest of this week. This is the way the planets are going to be aligned. Mars, Venus, Saturn in Aquarius, Sun, Mercury, Rahu in Pisces, and Jupiter here, but then the moon moves through. So again, notice this intensity right now. It can be, tough, maybe not, hurting your relationships so much, but there can definitely be a residual kind of combativeness, because again, when Venus gets put upon, particularly by Mars, since Mars is now joined, there's a combativeness, because Mars is about asserting our individuality. Venus is about maintaining connection, right? And those two things are often at odds with each other. Do we compromise, or do we assert ourselves? Because Venus is the part of you that knows if you want connection, which Venus does, then all you need to do is agree with the other person. It's the easiest thing in the world to have connection, just agree. But are we agreeing on things that we don't want to agree on? If so, then the Mars part of us gets angry, and we can get it all twisted up, and we can also forget the fact that we agreed to the thing. We agreed to the thing, then we get frustrated and angry about the thing we agreed to, and then we fight with the other person about the thing we agreed to. So we always have to be careful with Venus and Mars and those kind of shadowy things that come out. The other person didn't force you to agree, and you could have established a boundary, but you can't agree to it, then blame them because you agreed. So again, these are always tricky things, and when Venus and Mars come together, this dynamic really comes out, particularly with Saturn also there. Saturn brings consequences, where we're probably very much analyzing right now. It's a good time to do this. Analyze that dynamic that I just talked about, and notice how this has spiraled into your life for all relationships. Again, how your process in this, your agreements, frustrations, has ripple effects throughout your whole life, and not just your romantic partner or this, but all of your relationships have some kind of dynamic. Maybe you compromise too much. Maybe you can't compromise at all. But one of the things is true is that it has a long-term effect, and that's what Saturn brings. Saturn gives an awareness of consequences, like an immensity, and understanding that this isn't just of this moment. This is there's a long-term effect. And so you're becoming aware, and not just long-term effect, but in this sense, it's also in Aquarius, where there's even a long-term sort of cultural effect, or how it's even created a certain spiraling, rippling effect throughout your, you know, your culture and your other kinds of things, etc. And so here's an interesting comment. But also, when you don't agree, you get gaslit as being combative. Okay, so sounds like you have some justifications there. Sorry, but it's like, so let someone gaslight you as being combative. Yeah, that happens. So what? You establish the boundary, you establish the boundary. If it's real, then someone gaslights you as being combative, then so what? Let them do it. It's only going to bother you if you're not sure whether or not what they're saying is true. That always happens. Or you say they gaslight you. Maybe they're not gaslighting you. Maybe you are being combative. Maybe the way you're saying it is unnecessarily combative. Why do you have to be combative? Right? For example, like what I'm saying right now. There's no reason to be combative about a boundary. A boundary is just a boundary. You say, you know what, I'm not really happy with this. I don't want that. If you say it like that, nobody's going to gaslight you as being combative. If you're combative and they're telling you, maybe they're not gaslighting you. Maybe you're being combative. Again, we use these words now. I'm being gaslit as being combative. That usually doesn't happen unless you're being combative. For example, even me right now, I'm not being combative. I'm just saying this straight. I'm just saying this thing. Am I being combative? Is this, well, look, you're being combative now. I'm actually just saying it. I'm not, it's just, again, this is how Mars actually works, where any kind of, and again, maybe you're right. But usually when we just say something, again, that's Mercury. Mercury just speaks the thing. Mercury is usually not combative. It might seem confrontational because the other person doesn't like it. But if you're not combative, usually if someone says you're being combative, now people will try to do it. What they'll often do is like say things like, whoa, what's wrong with you? Or they'll try to make it out like just you making the boundary is somehow a problem. And again, if they do, you can just say, no, I'm not. What? I'm not upset. Are you upset? You sound like you're having the problem with it here. I'm just saying that this sort of thing is not what I want, or whatever it might be. But again, if someone, again, you establish a boundary and you're combative about it, and someone says, what are you being so combative about? That's not gaslighting you. They're just saying, what are you so charged up about this for? And if you're charged up about it, then you're not going to like it maybe, and you're going to say, oh, I'm being gaslit. Again, this is one of the things, and again, I'm just saying, I appreciate the comment here, but I'm just saying this is a lot of the stuff that makes it very hard to communicate even with people anymore. If you just even call something out, even if you're not calling it out in a combative way, people will say, oh, you're gaslighting me, and they're gaslighting you. It's like gaslit is just, we just throw this out. Anything we don't like that someone says, we often call it gaslit. Like everything is, maybe it's not. And again, trust me, like everybody, I've heard this now a million times, getting accused of being gaslit. I just say things. I mean, I don't have a reason to gaslight anybody because I'm not trying to pretend that I'm not saying something that I'm not saying. Gaslighting is when you like literally just deny reality. That's really what gaslighting is, from a movie that was called Gaslight, where someone intentionally tried to drive someone crazy by denying reality. That's literally what it means. So again, like if I do something and then I deny I did it, then that would be gaslighting. Or you do something and then I deny you did it, or I try to pretend like I don't understand reality. Like I do something to you that's overtly mean. And then when you say, wait a minute, that was not, you shouldn't have lied to me or whatever. And then I'm like, what's the big deal? You do things. That's also gaslighting, where someone literally does something to you that's obvious. And then you say, wait a minute, that's not good. And then they gaslight you. Now, if that's what you're talking about, then yeah. And so if this is the way, if that's what you're talking about, you said, yes, but I'm talking about people who don't like when you establish any boundaries. Okay, so maybe you're talking about what I'm saying as well. I'm just also bringing up the idea of like, when people do that, it's definitely irritating, but it shouldn't change this just shows you that, again, they're the ones doing the gaslighting then. And it happens for sure. But again, X Zephora, I appreciate you playing along. And so that's also what happens. Yeah, because someone who is gaslighting will gaslight you as gaslighting. That happens. The biggest gaslighters in the world are always accusing others of gaslighting. So be careful. That's why I'm saying be careful. The biggest gaslighters in the world will be like, oh, you're gaslighting me. Like, no, gaslighting is when someone denies reality. Are you denying that you just were combative? You just literally called me a name and said this. And when I called you out, now you're denying it and saying that me literally speaking the truth that you just called me a name is gaslighting. Like, me saying what just happened is not gaslighting. You telling me that saying what's happening is gaslighting is gaslighting. Ding, 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 ding. Welcome to the world of pseudo Jungian shadowy, analysis, which almost kind of circumvents every good conversation. Now we get into this kind of thing. So, all right, good way to do that. And Sandy says, Sam's on deck to throw down the inside. Thanks. No, I like to look at the comments and see what comes out. But yeah, this is why I also bring up some of these things in real time. I like to look and see because, yeah, it says, yes, that's exactly what I'm referring to. Yeah, it definitely is everywhere. I mean, I get that too. I'm like the last person to gaslight because I'm always just saying the truth, just like here. I'm just kind of saying it. And people are like, oh, you're gaslighting, or that I'm passive aggressive. Are you kidding me? Passive aggressive. If anything, I'm aggressive. If you want to call it aggressive, it's just speaking like this. It's not passive aggressive. There's nothing passive aggressive about me. If anything, I'm aggressive, but not passive aggressive. But it's like, because, again, it's a projection. This is the other big thing. But people will project their thing as well. They'll project, if they're gaslighting, they'll project that you're gaslighting. And it's also just a manipulation tactic. Instead of actually facing the situation, now we have these terms that we'll throw out. Oh, you're gaslighting. Oh, you're projecting. Oh, you're this. You're a narcissist projecting, gaslighting. Blah. Instead of like, can we get back to like a normal thing? Like get back to the present and get back into what's happening instead of these words. And by the way, this is a really good conversation to also be having because this Mercury in Pisces right now, this is big also. This confusion that we're in around this Mercury, Pisces, Rahu energy and this eclipse. Again, this is a lot of the kind of bypassing also that is going on right now, right? Is all of this crazy terminology. Everyone is a kind of pseudo analyst looking for the memes that define why everybody else is wrong and I'm fine. I'm fine. It's everybody else. They're gaslighting and narcissists and projecting and this and that. I've found the truth that I've been right the whole time. Oh, I knew it. Olia says it gets inverted all the time with people who are on a different level. Yeah. So again, one of the things is to also just see it and sort of try to be patient. Hi, Lynn. It says, thank you for your wise words. Well, thank you very much as well. So anyway, I wanted to bring this out today. And again, if people have interest in getting some deeper videos, getting these weekly forecasts, they're very powerful, both the week in general and based on the Vedic Panchanga. You can click the join button below the video for different membership levels. And look for some more videos this week. There's a lot going on right now, and I'm going to be doing more updates. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel.